Hey, what is up, everyone? Welcome to Market Psychology 101, where we look for value in the markets when there's fear and are cautious when there's greed. Today, I wanted to take a brief overview outlook at the crypto fear and greed index since 2018, because that's as far back as it goes, and just show you where it lines up with the price of Bitcoin, how much of a correlation there is to Bitcoin, alt season, all that stuff. Of course, right now we are in very high greed. Extreme greed is 76 and above. And as you can see, we've been in this uptrend for a while. So while it is good that crypto is still, as far as this looks, going up into greed, let's take a look and see what the correlation is as far as crypto fear and greed to the overall Bitcoin price. We can do this one of two ways. We can either look at the Bitcoin chart, which I'm sure I'll reference here a little bit on TradingView, or we can take a look at the rainbow chart here as well. So what's important to know is this is the beginning of 2018. It's a spike right here. If you weren't in the crypto market back then, 2017 is when I got in, and it was euphoric. It went on for a long time, it felt like. And this is the beginning of where the fear and greed index kind of starts out. It says in February. If it were to go back a little bit earlier to January, this thing would be off the charts, because back then at this time, this is the same peak right over here. At that time, alt season in late 2017 was crazy. Alts were going 20x. Bitcoin was about 20,000. People are talking about a crypto bubble for a while, and that's where it finally peaked. So moving over, you can see that we had this big dip right here in December of 2018, January of 2019, and on the fear and greed index, we're going to take a look at the end of 2018, which is right around here, in January 2019. So you can see already in January, December to January, it does start to reverse trend a little bit, but you can see that is where it bottomed right there. We'll take a look at this again. So Bitcoin, the price fell something like 6,000 to 3,500, as you can see in that black box right there. But then it did start to slowly grind up. This peak right here in late June, early July of 2019, that's known by many as that mid-cycle top. And that mid-cycle top is right here. I think I like this chart more. We'll just go over to this chart right here. Let's remove a couple things. Sorry, I got some fibs and trend lines up there. So this was the mid-cycle top in 2019. Again, December, January was down here when we bottomed. That peak was right there. But of course, things fell off a bit. And then the next peak of note was before COVID, which was March of 2020. We all try to forget those times, but for this chart, let's remember it just for a little bit. So we had a peak in February, and then it dipped in March. Let's find that. So February 2020, March of 2020, around right here. Started to go up again. This peak right here, August of 2020. Let's find where August is. And right here. So you can see there was this peak at the 0.5 Feb, came down a little bit, and the next peak we'll see is right around here. You can see the date at the bottom, January of 21, December 2020, and that is when Bitcoin fear and greed, or greed rather, was spiking up here. Now, what's interesting to note is this is where the correlation kind of ends, that when Bitcoin was breaking and making new all-time highs past the 2017 all-time high. So I'll show you that over here. When Bitcoin was breaking the 20,000 mark, made from here, that's when greed was at its highest. It still had 3 times higher to go till around 65,000. And so that top, which was it was like between late March to early May, so we'll say April. On the fear and greed, it's at a similar level to where we are now. Okay, so you can see right there, 73, but that's where the peak of Bitcoin was. And this was also where alt season was. You can see that reflected on Bitcoin dominance. This is the overall percent of money that's in crypto And when it goes from 60% around these levels, this happened in late 2017, early 21 in March, only lasts for like about a month. When it goes from around the 60 range to around the low 40s, that's when the alt season goes parabolic. Okay, so again, that's that's the alt season index. That was right in here in April. We had this over 50% correction into June. Let me go back to the Bitcoin chart. We had this over 50% correction into June. You can see the dates at the bottom. Okay. And then, of course, Bitcoin made its eventual peak at around 69,000 in November of 21, right here. And November of 21 is right around here. Okay. Now, moving forward, we had the FTX crash and bottom here in November, December of 22. Let's find November, December 22. You'll notice that's not where the true fear bottom is. That was in June. Maybe you're wondering, what was price like in June? Well, that's when Bitcoin fell to its bottom over here. Now, a lot of people felt like this 20,000 range was the bottom, and I think it would have been, but we did have a black swan event here with the whole FTX crash. It was one of the largest crypto exchanges out there, and a lot of corruption and scams going on, all that sort of thing. So this is when you can see how big of a move this was. It was much larger than back here. So people were already feeling extreme fear in this area. And then this just piled on. So let's take a look at where November, December is. You can see it's over here at the 30 mark if you're going by the numbers. Not as low as back here, but again, remember, that was a bigger drawdown. And then here in December is where we had the FTX crash. Now, this peak right here in March of 24, that is when Bitcoin was making new all-time highs. You can see down here, March of 24. So that would be comparable with this December 2020 area when Bitcoin was breaking the all-time high from 2017's peak. That's when greed spiked up here. And when Bitcoin in 21, before the halving, broke the peak in, or sorry, when we broke the all-time high in March of 2024, got to get everything straight here. Let me take a deep breath. Sorting through a lot of data. Sometimes my mouth moves faster than my brain. When Bitcoin was forming the new all-time high in March of 24, past the 21 break, okay, that's when greed was up here. Okay, so new all-time high, but that does not mean that greed needs to be up here for the eventual all-time high. You guys saw that right here in April and November. Those were the true peaks. They were a little lower. So the fact that greed is a little lower, to me, is fine as long as it stays up in this range. Okay, now there may be big drawdowns in our future. No one knows where the price is going to go. A lot of people make fools out of themselves trying to predict things, myself included. So I don't try to predict. I try to have patience, react, and spend more time in the market rather than timing the market. Okay, I like to buy in, dollar cost average in when it's boring and no one's talking about it, because retail money follows the smart money. Retail money, us, the dumb money, follows the smart money. You will hear friends and family talking about Bitcoin and crypto when it's near the top. That's how it is. That's when the YouTube views for all the crypto videos are at their highest, is at the peak. So the less people are talking about it, the better time it is for you to get in. Not that that should be your only strategy. That's why we take a look at chart as well. So going over to the yearly index, you can see here's where we broke a new all-time high above the 21 all-time high. That's why greed spiked. Came down a little, had a little correction, and now we're going sideways. Again, this thing may go dramatically down or up. Who knows? We'll see what happens next. But that has been overall the correlation for crypto or for Bitcoin. And as far as altcoins, again, we're looking at Bitcoin dominance to roll over or dip. So that value can go into the altcoins. And we talk about that plenty in other videos. Right now, the price of Bitcoin is just testing this gray line, which is the 2021 all-time highs. I still want to see the candle body open and close above it. We had like a 2%, 3% drawdown since yesterday. These things happen. They've happened before. They'll happen many times again. If you get worried, zoom out and look at the bigger picture and understand that that could mean for more value times to buy in. Okay, because if you like the price up here, you should love it down here. So, what am I expecting as far as the fear and greed? Why do I check it every day? Because I want to see this stay up here or even spike higher. If Bitcoin gets above its recent all-time high, I would not be surprised to see it get back into the 80s and kind of stay up there. Even if we were to grind up slowly to 100K and then maybe later this year, next year, 120, 150K, something like that. So that's what I'm looking for fear and greed to do. But again, if we were to get a big drawdown, maybe something to the 200 moving average or the 100 would look more probable in the worst case scenario because the 100 week is right by all this price action. The 50, there is some price support in here if we look on the daily. You can see right here, but again, the moving averages change because it's on the daily. So this is at around 52K on the weekly. The 50 is around 50K. So there's a couple areas of price action. And these fibs, the 618, the 0.5, and these moving averages. So these two areas, if we saw a huge drawdown, would be what I'd look for. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video breaking down fear and greed. That's what I look for. If you look for something else on the fear and greed index, let me know in the comments below. Hope you have a wonderful day. Take care.